In this lesson, we'll look at a couple of different ways that we can get our high-res sculpted detail out of ZBrush. So we have a lot of this high-res detail like the suckers and some of these other pieces that we'd like to be able to see in our final image, but it's going to be in another package. But how do we get that detail out? We can't really export a model that has millions of polygons in most cases. It's not really realistic. So what we can do is use maps to kind of bring out that detail in our other package. So there are a couple of different types of maps that we can use, and you may be familiar with this. If so, you can skip ahead. But we're going to be working with normal maps and displacement maps. So the normal map is going to be kind of like a bump map, where it doesn't really move any geometry. It just makes it look like there's more going on there than what there really is. So what that's going to be good for is things like the tongue, where you've got some surface detail that you want to create, things like the fish, where there's not a lot of detail that sticks off the surface. Okay, and so the normal map is going to be okay for that, things like the ground possibly. The displacement map is going to be good for things like the detail here with these suckers on the tentacles. You can see how these actually extend off the surface, and that becomes very noticeable when you look at the edge. With a normal map, you're not going to see that. So what you want to do in that case is use a displacement map, which will actually displace the geometry, move that geometry out. You'll have to apply some sort of smoothing at render time, and then use that map and hook it all together, and we'll show you how to do that, but it'll actually move that geometry out. So we'll use a couple of different solutions and combine those together. So first, the normal map. Let's say we want to normal map, for instance, the fish. So I'll go ahead and select the fish, and right now we're at 4,000 polygons, and what we'd like to do is get the detail that we have at level 5, get that in there at level 2. And so to do that, we're going to create a normal map. So let me go ahead and go to the ZMapper. Now, because of the limited screen real estate here that I'm working with, I'm going to change my user interface so that I can get access to the ZMapper controls. So let me go ahead and go to kind of a minimal interface. And now to access ZMapper, I'll go to ZPlugin and ZMapper and go ahead and activate it. Okay, and there is our fish, and here are ZMapper controls here. So what we can do, go ahead and open one of these tabs. We can actually open a configuration that is set specifically for what we're trying to do. So in this case, we're going to Maya, and we're going to use tangent space, best quality. So we can select one of these custom configurations and open that up. It'll change a lot of these settings for us. The flip image vertically, it'll turn on automatically, so we don't have to worry about that. Now we can choose to view our tangent space normal map. And then all we have to do at this point is create normal map. It's going to go through the process of creating that normal map. You can see it calculating there, and you can also see the progress bar coming up here. So when that's finished, we'll have a completed normal map based on the UVs, which in this case are mapped within ZBrush using group UVs. Let's go ahead and go back to our interface. And here we can see that it doesn't really look very good. And that's just because it's already flipped it. If we go ahead and flip that back, it's going to look just how it should. So in this case, we'll flip that back, and then to export that normal map, simply export that. And we can just call this fish normal and save that out. All right, we can also save a normal map out of the tongue and of the ground as well. Okay, I would do those three. Now, as far as displacement maps go, let's go ahead and select the main body, which is what we're going to be creating a displacement map for. And like I said, displacement maps are going to actually move that geometry out. You'll have to subdivide it at render time, but that's okay. So what we're going to do to create a displacement is a little bit different. We're going to go to ZPlugin Multi-Displacement, and let's go ahead and go to the export options. So right now I've got D32 displacement, 32-bit, and I've got the status as on. None of these others are turned on, but it will allow you to create multiple maps at the same time. So for mine, I've got 3-channel, the scale is set to auto, and I've got full range on channels 1, 2, and 3, and I've also got vertical flip set to yes. All right, so once we've got those settings defined, we can now export our displacement map. So go ahead, and so we can see what this is doing. Here is our detail at level 5, okay, and then here is our mesh at level 2, which I believe is what we've exported. So we've got a little bit of that detail coming through on the suckers, and we want to really bring that out with the displacement map. All right, so we'll go to our Z plugin multi-displacement, and let's go to create all. It's going to ask us what we want to name it, and let's go ahead and call this squid body displace. Save that out. It's going to tell us what it's doing, creating displacement, and it's been exported out. So now now that we have all the maps and geometry out, and go ahead and create normal maps for the tongue and the ground. I don't think you should worry about the teeth or really any of these other pieces. The eyes are fine. So I'd say you'll have maybe 3 normal maps and then 1 displacement map. So once you get all those maps and geometry out, it's time to go into Maya. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Kyle, our lighting and rendering instructor at this point, who's going to take you through the process of reassembling all the pieces that we've created in Maya to create a nice finished render.